If you are waiting for your visa category to be current, I have some great news for you because the April Visa Bulletin is officially out and we have movement in a lot of categories. Not every single country, but a lot of categories have movement, and not just little jumps, but major movement. So let's talk about all the changes that has happened or that will be happening in April. I am U.S. immigration attorney Lilian Chukwurah, and I help my clients get green cards and citizenships for themselves and their families using the U.S. immigration law system. Yes, I am recording this in March, and it is going to go out in March, but it is the prior month. So we are going to have March and April pulled up because, again, we want to compare the two, see where the changes happen and what those changes actually mean for us moving forward. Now, if you are new here and you have no idea what the Visa Bulletin is, why we're even looking at it in the first place, let me start there. The Visa Bulletin is basically a place where we can go every single month and see whose priority date is current, meaning who can apply for a visa, who can apply for a green card, who can the embassy actually approve their visas, who can the USCIS actually approve their green card if they're in the US. So these categories are specifically for people that are not immediate relatives of US citizens. If you do not already know, immediate relatives of US citizens always have a visa available, meaning immediately a US citizen files for their immediate relative, meaning their parent, their spouse, and their unmarried children under the age of 21, there's a visa immediately available. So they only have to wait for USCIS to process the I-130 and for the embassy to process the visa application and schedule them for an interview. They don't have to worry about this Visa Bulletin. If you are not an immediate relative of a US citizen, you need to pay attention to the Visa Bulletin to kind of have an idea of how soon your visa may be available. So that's why we pay attention to this. Let's start where I always start, which is with the categories, because again, we will need to know what the categories are to know what we're even looking at and looking for. So the first category is F1. These are the unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens. Again, unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens, these are the ones that are over the age of 21. Remember, I said immediate relatives of US citizens are their children that are unmarried and under the age of 21. So the ones that are unmarried and 21 and over are in the F1 category. F2A is for the spouses and children of permanent residents. In this situation, children mean unmarried and under the age of 21. F2B is the unmarried sons and daughters of permanent residents. Again, here we're talking about 21 and over. F3 is the married sons and daughters of US citizens. And then F4 is the siblings of US citizens. Now, as you can see from these categories, permanent residents cannot file for their married children, and permanent residents cannot file for their siblings. You must be a US citizen to file for your married children, and you must be a US citizen to file for your siblings. The Visa Bulletin is broken down into two charts. There's the final action chart, and then there's the date for filing chart. The final action chart basically tells us which visas which ones can the embassy approve? Which ones can USCIS approve? Because there is a visa immediately available for that category. Whereas the date for filing chart tells us when can you start filing that green card application if you're in the US? When can you start filing that DS-260 if you are outside of the US? That's what the date for filing chart does. It tells you when you can expect things to start moving in your case as far as filing that visa application and the affidavit of support and all those supporting documents. That's what that does. But the final action date is what you need to pay attention to, because it will tell you when you can actually have your application approved. So let us start with the final action date. Again, we have these side by side for a reason. Okay, we have them side by side for a reason, so we can see what changes actually happened and what didn't happen. Okay, so for F1, which is the unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens, we saw movement in every single category. Okay, when I say every single category, I mean every single category. So when you look at the chart, you will see that there's all chargeability areas except for mainland China, India, Mexico, and the Philippines. Those are the only 4 countries that are broken out. Every other country is included in that all chargeability column. Okay, so for the all chargeability column, China and India, there was movement. Okay, they moved from November 8, 2016 to May 1st, 2017. That's major. Okay, I know to you, you're like, it's a few months, but the few months is major, because we have had months where there's only been a 1-month move or no movement at all. So to see several months, so to see an almost 7-month movement here is amazing. So this is going to be very beneficial to people from these countries that already filed, that already have been waiting since May 2017, since November 2016 for their visa to be available. Now they can actually get that visa approved. So that's why these make a difference, and that's why I go over it every single month so you can see where those major movements are happening. Mexico moved from December 22, 2006 to February 15, 2007. Philippines from March 1st, 2013 to May 1st, 2013. Like I said, all chargeability, China and India had the major movement in this category, whereas Philippines and Mexico had a couple months of movement. F2A had 0 movement in every single country. Okay, F2A had 0 movement. F2A is the F2A again is the spouse and children of permanent residents that had no movement. It stayed the same month over month. And then F2B, we saw movement in every single country except for Mexico. So all chargeability, China, India had a movement from December 1st, 2016 to May 22nd, 2017. Philippines had a movement from December 22, 2012 to April 8, 2013. So again, we are seeing major movements, several months of movement in most of these categories. For F3, under the final action date, we are seeing movement in every single country except for Mexico again. So all chargeability, China and India moved from September 8, 2011 to December 22, 2011. Again, Mexico, no change. Philippines went from March 1st, 2005 to July 1st, 2005. Okay, so again, movement. When we see movement, we like movement. When it's major movement, we celebrate it. Okay. F4, all chargeability in China had movement from January 8, 2008 to June 8, 2008. India and Mexico had no movement. Philippines had movement from September 1st, 2006 to February 1st, 2007. So again, movement is great because that means if your priority date falls within that movement, you can now know that your visa is going to be approved when you have your interview. Okay? The Visa Bulletin gives you so much information and you want to pay attention to it so you know what to expect and how soon you should be expecting your interview after your priority date becomes current. I hope you are getting value out of this video already, but I do want to jump in here and ask you to tell me in the comments what immigration topic or issue you're having or you're curious about that you want me to do my next video on. I am going to go through your comments and I'm going to pick one person from that to get a free consultation with me. I offer a paid 30-minute session with me where we talk about your situation, do a deep dive into your case, and figure out what your next steps are going to be. So if you would like to be entered into that, please go ahead and put in the comments, what is the next topic you want me to cover based on what you're interested in? Because again, the whole point of me making these videos is to make sure that I am answering your questions and I am helping you. So tell me in the comments what topic you want me to cover next in a video, and I will pick one of you or more to get a free 30-minute consultation with me. Now back to the Visa Bulletin. And let's look at the date for filing chart, because again, that is important. So we want to look at the date for filing chart because it tells us when you can expect the National Visa Center to send you that welcome email and tell you to get started on your DS-260 and all of that documentation. It also tells you when, if you are in the US, you can start filing your green card application with USCIS, okay? USCIS is using the date for filing chart for their filing this month for April. So that's why I say we can use that to tell us when you can actually apply for your green card in the US if you are in one of these categories and you qualify for adjustment of status in the US. You have to meet both of those things. All right. So here we have a category that had a major shift. Okay. We we had one category in the date for filing chart that had a major shift, and I am so excited for it. I am very excited for it, and I'm hoping that the filing action date chart catches up to the date for filing chart in this category because I'm just excited. All right, so F1 had a movement for every single category, every single country except for the Philippines. So for all countries plus China and India, we saw a movement from September 1st, 2017 to March 1st, 2018. Mexico had a movement from December 1st, 2007 to April 15, 2008. Okay? Again, movement. Movement is welcome. Unfortunately, for F1, there's no movement for the Philippines. There's no movement. But let's go to F2A, which is the one I'm so excited about. So for the longest time, F2A was current, meaning if you are the spouse of a permanent resident, your date for filing is the date that you file your application, right? That's what it means when it says current. When you see that C, it means current. It means immediately you're filing your I-130 if you are physically in the U.S. and are in legal status. You can not only file your I-130, you can also file your green card application at the same time because now that category is current. Okay? So we love to see a category be current. All right? And that category was current for so long that it became the norm. And then when it finally stopped being current, it was kind of sad. But now, spouses and children, unmarried children under the age of 21 of permanent residents can now adjust their status in the U.S. immediately without having to wait for their priority date to become current because it's already current. That is major movement, okay? Here's the caveat to that. If you are in that category, you need to make sure that you are in legal status when you file that green card application. That is a requirement. So if you enter the U.S. on a B1, B2, and then you get married to a permanent resident, you need to make sure that you're filing that green card application while you are still in valid B1, B2 status. Okay? We like movement, but we need to make sure that we're using it in the right way. That is not going to then cause you immigration headache later. For F2B, there is movement in every single category except for the Philippines. So for all countries, China and India, we see movement from March 15, 2017 to August 8, 2017. For Mexico, we see a movement from February 15, 2010 to May 15, 2010. F3, we see movement in every single country except for Mexico. So all countries, India and China, have movement from July 22, 2012 to November 22, 2012. Philippines went from June 1st, 2006 to July 15, 2006. Again, not huge movement, but makes a difference for someone that their priority date is July 1st, 2006, all right? So we accept all movement because there's someone out there that is going to benefit from that movement. So we rejoice at every single movement. For F4, there is no change for India or Mexico, but there is a change for all countries in China and the Philippines. So all countries plus China have a movement from March 1st, 2009 to May 15, 2009. The Philippines had a movement from January 15, 2008 to March 22, 2008. So those are all the changes that are happening. Like I said, that F2A being current for the date for filing and USCIS using the date for filing for the date that you can file your green card application with them. Again, it's just coming together, okay? It's coming together, and I'm excited for that because it is going to be so beneficial to a lot of people. So, very excited. If you cannot tell how excited I am to talk about the Visa Bulletin or wonder why I'm so excited to talk about the Visa Bulletin, is because I know for a fact there is someone out there that has been waiting for over a decade for their priority date to be current, and finally it is, and they can move forward and basically be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to their visa processing. So we always celebrate every single movement because it makes such a difference in people's lives. I hope you have gotten value out of today's Visa Bulletin because, again, there's major movements and we're excited about the movement. If you are in a situation where you're trying to start your green card process or you're already in the middle of your green card process, your visa process, and you are looking for help from an immigration attorney, please feel free to reach out to me. We are now getting legal help from a licensed immigration attorney more accessible to more people by offering limited scope representation, which basically means not only can you choose to have us represent you from the beginning of your case to the end, but if there's specific parts of your case that you need help with, if you just need help with reviewing what you have done and making sure that everything is good to go, we can help you with that. If you just need help with preparing the forms, but you don't need me to stay with you from the beginning to the end, we can also do that. If you just need help with a mock interview because you're nervous that you're not ready for your green card interview, we can help you with that. So I have basically built out a system where we can help you with whichever part of your case that you need help with. You may not need help with every single part of your case. So I want to make sure that you are getting the help that you do need and not paying for a full representation when that is not actually what you need. So if you are interested in either the limited scope representation or you want that full representation of me representing you from beginning to end, and you want to talk about your particular situation and see if I can help you, go ahead and schedule a consultation with me. You can do that by going to my website, lilylegal.com, click on Contact Us, and you can pick a date and time that works best for you for us to talk about your situation.